All right, everybody, welcome. This is page 2 of our lessons on 1.7. And so let's get started on these ones as well. So equations that are functions can be written in the form called, and it's going to be called function notation. Okay, so up here, we put in function notation. We will see this the rest of the year, okay? For example, consider the equation y equals 3x minus 8, which you guys are familiar with seeing, can be written as f of x, that's how it's stated, equals 3x minus 8. Same thing, but you guys need to understand that f of x equals y, and y equals f of x. All right, it's the same thing, but what we do in math is we change it. The reason we change it is so that you guys kind of get an understanding of how function notation works. All right, because what we want to do and what I want you guys to understand is as follows, right? This -4 right here can be put into the equation. So what they're doing is they're saying this x needs to be -4. So they're saying the f of -4 equals, and then you would go 5, and then what you would put is instead of an x, because that's an x and an x, you put in a -4 right here. So what you do is you change it. So this would be -4. And then you would finish it out with saying plus 5. That's what function notation is, and then you solve it accordingly. Really simple, right? So this would be -20 plus 5. And remember, this is -20. You went and spent 20 bucks somewhere, but somebody gives you $5. So how much have you actually spent for the day? You have spent 15, okay? Remember, negatives need to be in a connotation of money. If you think of it that way, it's easy to remember. All right, -3. So the next would be down here. This would be 5. And then you put a -3 on here, plus 5. So that would be -15 plus 5. -15 and 5 would be a -10. And hopefully you guys can see some of this trend. Okay, now the next one would be 5 times 2, which would be 10, plus 5 is 15. So if you say to yourself, how did you get that, Mr. Steiger? I'll write it down one time, but I need to make sure you guys can do the mental math as well and go from there, right? All right, so make sure you guys can do this. So, and then this will be increasing by 5. 5 times 3 is 15 to 20, and of course this one would be 25. That's how you fill out this table with function notation. Same thing over here. Plug in a -4, so f of -4, so it'd be 3, and now you put a -4 in there, minus 5, okay? So what this is understanding is when you plug this in, -12, yee, that's bad. Hold on. Back up that train. All right, -12 minus 5. So you've spent 12. You go to another store, you spent 5. How much have you spent? It would be 17, right? So you spent $17. All right, and then the next one here, -3. So there'd be a 3 and a -3. When you multiply those together, minus 5, that would be a -9 and a -5. So combine those together, you'd get -14. And then you go on and you keep going down the problem, right? So put in a 1, it'd be 3 times 1. So it would be 3 minus 5. That'd be 3 minus 5, which is a -2. You plug in a 2 there, that becomes 6. 6 minus 5 is a 1. And then 3, that's a 9. 9 minus 5 is 4. Okay, hopefully you guys get the connotation and the algebra along with it. Last one here, plug in a -5, right? So f of -5 is what? So this would be -25 minus 5, which is -30. Then you plug in a -3. Right, that'd be -15 and -5, -20. Plug in a 1, you'd get 0. 2, you'd get 5. And then a 4, you'd get 20 minus 5, which is 15. Okay, simple math. Just make sure you guys understand what function notation is and how to solve it and how to fill out the Alex homework as well. It's a good understanding to your math and to make sure what function notation represents. Ladies and gentlemen, do these on your own. All right, when you guys go through these, I'm gonna blow through and figure it out. This is gonna be -7. Then I got -1 here. Then that would be 5. That'd be 12 and 2, which is 14. That'd be 15 and 2, which is 17. Now, sometimes you guys will see a trend, especially if numbers are close together. Like you see 4 and 5, you see it actually adds 3 each time. So 6, I'd have 3, that would be 20. There is a, when it's a linear equation like this, there is a arithmetic sequence that we'll talk about later in the year, but just know that the sequence is there and that it's helpful and useful for you guys to kind of figure out how to solve these problems, right? So 2 and negative 5 would be negative 10 minus 2, that's a negative 12. Put a 4 and that's a negative 8, that'd be negative 10. A 1 would be a 0 because 2 minus 2. A 2 would be 4 minus 2, which is 2, and then that would be 8 minus 2, which is 6. The other one over here, negative 4, so this would be 2 and negative 4 plus 4, that'd be negative 8 plus 4. All right, so rock and rolling on this one would be negative 4, and then you drop it down, so that'd be negative 6 plus 4 is a negative 2. 2 times 3 is 6, that'd be a 10. 8 and 4 would be 12. 5, that'd be 14. All right, hopefully you guys got those. If you did not, please make sure you see your teacher or myself when you get a chance to say, hey, I didn't understand this. All right, you'll get more practice on the homework. Now, here's where it's going to get a little bit more complicated right on, because I want to see if you guys can do this math, because it is slightly challenging, but what it does is it allows you to expand your math skills quite rapidly. All right, so what we're going to do is define a function. We're going to find negative 2 in this. So remember, what it means is you're going to write f of negative 2 now equals, and then it's going to be 2. And then what you would do is you put a little bracket right here, and you put a 3 plus 2. And you ask yourself, what goes in there? It's actually going to be a negative 2, right? These two things have to be the same thing. And now you simplify and solve it. Now, this is a relatively simple process. Just make sure you guys know negative 2 to the third power means it's negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, right? So that would be first times negative 2 times 2 would be what? If I write over here times negative 2 is 4, and then 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So this is going to be 2 times negative 8 plus 2. Now you got to do order of operations, right? This would be negative 16. Plus 2, which comes out to be negative 14, right? So your actual answer needs to be written down like this. It'd be f of negative 2 equals negative 14. That's the actual answer, okay? One thing I want to make sure you guys understand is how it's written, how the answer needs to be portrayed, and how you need to identify things, because when you see something written in a book or in a test, you have to be able to figure those things out. All right, same right here, right? So this is 4, so 4 goes in here, so this is negative 3, and then you put a 4 in there, plus 4, all right, that'd be negative 12 plus 4, which equals negative 8. So G of 4 equals negative 8. That's the answer, and that's how you write it. All right, next one over here. Same thing now, it's 5x. So what's the difference between here and here? Well, you're just putting in a 5. So you plug this 5x into here and into there. Okay, so this might be challenging for some of you right off the bat, but I want to make sure I push your abilities and see where you guys are standing. All right, so this is a 2, and then it's going to be squared plus 3, and then what goes by x? Instead of x, now we put in a what? 5x, right? So you put a little 5x in there. So what does that mean? Remember, what this means is it's how many 5x's are there? There are 2 of them. Okay, so it's what you need to do now is understand that this is going to be the 2 drops down, and then this is going to be 5 times 5, which is 25, and it's how many x's are there? There are 1, 2. We don't write it like this. Have you ever seen that? No. You don't write x times x. You actually would write what? You erase that, and you put in here x squared, and then it's plus 3, right? So the reason I still have in brackets is because there's still a 2 on the outside that needs to be multiplied. And so what you need to do is 2 times 25 would be 50, x squared plus 3. And that's the answer. Now, here's the fun. All right, so on this one, same thing. Instead of an x, which is right here and right here, you would write that value. Okay, so what this means, ladies and gentlemen, is you would put a little bracket right here, parentheses, minus 1. And then this would be 2 times something right here, plus 1, right? Now, what do you put in there is the question. Well, you would put y plus 5. Y plus 5. All right, if I leave this in on the notes, guys, which I'm not sure if I will or not, but if I leave it in, hopefully you guys can simplify this from here. And so what this means is now you get rid of the parentheses, right? PEMDAS. We've already learned about PEMDAS. We've already practiced it. Get rid of the parentheses first, right? So you get rid of these parentheses here. This would be y plus 5 minus 1 all over, and then you'd have to distribute this in. So this would be 2y plus 10 plus 1, right? And then you just simplify. So your final answer comes out to be like this, okay? So it would be f of, and then it would be y plus 5, because that's what we're looking for, equals. And then you would simplify this out. 5 minus 1, it would be y plus 4, and then over here, this would be 2y plus 11, and that's it. That's the answer. You can't simplify it anymore. You can't do anything crazy with it. That's it. Hopefully you guys understand that. Okay, if not, please make sure you come see us. There's will be a couple of these on the homework, but that's the most challenging thing you'll face so far. Try these ones on your own. All right, same thing, guys. You plug in a -3 here, so you get -3, and it'd be -3 cubed minus 2, which means there it would be -3 times -3 times -3, right? So this would be a +9 times -3, which would end up being -27. So that's how you get that. So -3 times -27 minus 2. Okay, and then you would do your math on this, and it would come out to be, let me see, I don't have a calculator on me. That's a 1, 6, 7, 8, so 81 positive. All right, so this ends up being, you write this out as 81 minus 2, or 79 is your answer, right? So remember what it would actually be written out as. You would go f -3 equals 79. All right, hopefully you guys got that. Next over here, g of x. Okay, this is a 7. You plug a 7 in there. Is that 7? Hold on, it went a little crazy. Yep, 7, okay. All right, 7 on this, so you plug this in here. Let me bring up my board a little bit. Bring up the 7, so you plug that in, so you get -2, and 7 here plus 2, so this would be -14, which comes out to be -12. All right, so remember though, it needs to be g of 7 equals -12. All right, this one you plug in a 3x, so you get 2, and it's 3x on the inside, squared, minus 5. And now you set this up. So remember, this is going to be 3. Now, you can also write it out like this, just so you guys know for future reference. It's 2, okay, and then it would be times 3x times 3x minus 5. And now you put all that together, if that makes it simpler for you guys to understand. So this would be what? 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. So this would be 18. And now you have 2 x's, so that's x squared minus 5. That's your answer. You can't go any farther. But what you would do, make sure you remember, like we talked about, f of 3x equals 18x squared minus 5. That's the technical answer of how you need to write it. All right, last one here is a little tricky, but it's the same thing, right? So it's z minus 2 plus 1 all over, and then it would be z minus 2 plus 7, and then you simplify. Right, so on this one here, you would have 4z, because you're distributing it into there and there, minus 8 plus 1, all over. And then this would be z minus 2 plus 7, because we're not doing anything with the parentheses on this one. We're just getting rid of it. And then you simplify, right? So this is -8 plus 1. So if you spent $8, but somebody gave you $1 for that day, you have only spent 7. And then that's all over z, and then that's you spent 2, but you had 7 to begin with, plus 5, right? And then you would put the little g, you put this in front. I wrote it too far this way, it would be like this, g, z minus 2 equals, right? Something like that, okay? Understand that. Hopefully you guys get it and understand. If not, make sure you see your teacher or myself in class. All right, last thing here we want to kind of throw this out for you, a little nonlinear function. Hans spends $16 each time he travels the toll roads. He started the month with $240 in his toll road account. The amount in dollars he has left is this function right here. So it starts with $240. Every day he drives, each time he travels, it's 16 bucks. So T would represent how many times. All right, so how many trips on the toll roads can Hans take before his account is empty, right? So remember what you can do, okay, is you want to find out what this answer is. We don't know what it is. So what you can do is you can make you can try to figure out and put something on one side or the other, okay? You can set this to 0, okay, because what are we trying to do? It's when his account is empty. And empty equals what? 0. So for this A part right here, okay, you could put this at equaling 0. And then you'd put 240 minus 16t, just like that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a kind of a beginning of what we're going to be doing soon and next, is you solve it, right? So you'd have negative 240 on this side, negative 240 on that. So you'd end up with negative 240 equals negative 16t. And then you would divide by negative 16, divide by negative 16, and you put it in a calculator, you figure it out, and you'd come up with the answer of t equals 15. Now, that's the math way of doing it. Is there a different way? Sure, you could actually plug numbers in. So you could take this equation and put numbers in for t. So for example, if I said 10, I would say 240 minus 16 times 10, which would be 240 minus 160. Am I going to hit 0? No, I still have some money left. So what you guys need to understand is sometimes with troubleshooting, you can continue to go down that process, but that when you do it, if you don't get 0, then you got to keep going. But because it also has in this, after 11 trips, how much does he have left on his toll account? Okay, so instead of doing this, you would actually put in the number 11, right? So you would change this now to 240 minus, and then it'd be 16 times 11, which I don't have that number off the top of my head, so let me do it. So this would be 16 and that's 16, so that's 176. All right, so it's minus 176. And then when you put that in there, ladies and gentlemen, you would come up with 240 minus 176. Put that in a calculator, you would end up with, that's a 460, right? So you'd end up with 64. He still has that much in his account. Right? You're gonna run into these on Alex. Make sure you guys can do the word problem either by plugging in a value like we did for the 11 on the trips, or, ladies and gentlemen, by plugging in other zeros, or you can set it to 0 if you're advanced enough yet. If you're not, that's fine. We'll learn that later. But if you can set it to 0, solve it. If you can't, do some troubleshooting. Use a calculator and figure it out. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson, and next one is the very last lesson, hopefully for this chapter, 1.8. Do your homework. If you have any problems, please come see me or your teachers. Good luck, everybody.